Alright, now, back to the randoms. We got 31 randos left to go. Let's see what we roll next. It is 22 again. Okay. The Marginal Servant. I have no clue what this is. I couldn't even begin to tell you what this show could be about based on this title, so let's find out. Okay, I made it like a little over halfway through the first episode of Marginal Service. It's another cryptid show. The characters are so boring. The designs are so boring. It's so boring. And there's so much talking about exposition that I don't give a shit about. At first I thought the main character was at least gonna be like interesting, but then I remembered, oh, he's just a cop and he's doing cop things. It's so boring. Why is it so boring? Let's move on. So apparently this show had a 5.5 on Mal, and I'm like, man, this must get really bad at some point, because you gotta work for that kind of score. Anyway, Marginal Service, where is it? Is off the list. So let's roll again. Crank down the number generator, and we get 25. Opus.COLORs. I don't know. So many shows here that I just have never heard a single goddamn thing about. Let's see what it is. I want you all to picture something with me for a moment. Imagine a show that is about a new kind of art. Like something that, like a whole new medium of art in like the augmented reality realm. And I want you to imagine that there's going to be an anime about this characters exploring this new type of art. And it's going to be a full 12-episode anime with 23-minute episodes. Would you want that anime to look like absolute fucking dog shit? I'm gonna bet no. Like, obviously you don't want any genre of anime to look like absolute fucking dog shit. But in particular, when you're making a story about exploring a new realm of art, I would hope that the art on display in the show didn't look like absolute dog shit. Like, the character designs are bland and totally uninteresting. The facial expressions of the characters are practically non-existent. The color grading is so bland and dull. The shot composition is fucking terrible. I just want you all to appreciate the irony of what's going on in this fucking show. Because I have nothing else to say aside from that. Okay, Opus.COLORs can go away. So let's roll again and see what we get. It is 17. Rokudo's Bad Girls. I don't think I've heard of this one either. Let's figure out what it's about. You know, sometimes I see a show and all I can think is, dear God, I hope this isn't anyone's first anime. Let's start with the fact that this is a completely different kind of ugly from Opus.COLORs. This is just fundamentally bad from the ground up. The character designs are dog shit. Absolute fucking rank awful. One of the dudes just look, it's set in a high school, and one of the students just straight up looks like an adult. He's wearing a fucking beret, like a green beret hat. I think it's supposed to be funny, but it's not. It's just kind of there. All of the characters are fucking obnoxious. I don't want anyone to be happy in this show. I can't fucking stand it. It's not funny. It's not insightful. It's just bad. It's just bad. And I haven't even gotten to the inciting incident yet of this show. Because I don't care. I don't want anyone to have to watch this kind of show ever. I don't even know what it's about yet, other than these kids go to a high school full of delinquents. And I don't want to know. I am infuriated by the absolute dog shit that I'm looking at. And I shouldn't be. I should just move on. But sometimes a certain degree of awfulness just really irks me. And this is one of those times. Fuck this show.
Alright. Rokudo's Bad Girls off this stupid list. Now let's see what we roll next. We have a 4, bit higher on the list. Summoned to another world for a second time. Okay. I guess this is a continuation from where Isekai Oji-san would have left off. Let's see if it's good.
Okay, so this is, from what I've seen so far, just a classic example of you have a kind of interesting premise, but you have no clue what the fuck to do with it. Like, it's very clear that, like, the main guy has been to another world before, and then came back to the real world, and now his whole class got summoned this time. And he just does nothing. Like, he stops a mace with his pinky, like, once. But he doesn't, like, try to show off with it. He doesn't try to tell anyone what's going on. He doesn't, like, become, like, the big leader or anything. And I'm not, like, he doesn't even, like, try to hide the fact that he's been here before. He just kind of acts like everyone else. Sort of, but not really. He does... It's so boring. This is... Like, I've thought of a bunch of ways you could fuck up this premise, but this show has blown away my expectations on how to fuck up this premise. They picked, quite literally, the least interesting thing you could do. It's astounding. I'm blown away. Why? Just why? Fuck it. Let's move on.
Okay. Let's get this isekai thing off the list and crank down the random number generator. Let's see what we roll now. 27. Pretty low. Yakitori. This is that Netflix one that I forgot to add last time. Let's see if it's worth it.
Have you ever seen Cat Shit 1? Yes, that's a real anime short film. Imagine if that was a full miniseries and they ruined it by over-explaining the world building. So, like, first of all, I was never going to watch this whole thing anyway because the camera work is so disorienting. Like, it's a full CG series, and to be honest, like, the CG's not great, but it's not awful. Like, by full CG standards, it's pretty okay. But it does the thing with the camera that full CG series do sometimes where it just moves constantly and never stops. And it makes you want to throw up. So that alone, I was never going to finish this series. But then the opening battle stopped. And then they ruined it by giving us world building as to how, like, the Earth was subjugated by this interplanetary alliance. The explanations they give are like super bare bones, and I could think of at least 3 ways that it wouldn't work. It sucked. If this had just been like wacky anthropomorphic animal battles, I might have at least found some like joy in watching like colors flash in front of my eyes. But no, this ain't good. This ain't it, Chief.
Okay, Yakitori off the list. That was like 5 stinkers in a row, wasn't it? Might have been 6 actually. Anyway, we're gonna roll into the next show, and that is 15. Otaku Elf. I feel like I've heard of this one before as like a manga, so let's see if it's good.
Alright, I got through like 3/4 of the first episode of Otaku Elf. It's not horrendous like the last few shows that I've been watching. It's just like a super middling comedy series. Like it'll get like a light chuckle out of me every 5-6 minutes. The first joke where it's just straight up like just a Red Bull plug, like just Red Bull product placement, not even like McDonald's level like name changing stuff. It's just straight up Red Bull. I thought that was pretty funny. Just kind of caught me off guard. It was a fun way to introduce the character of the elf, Elda, I think her name is. But otherwise, it's not that funny. It occasionally busts out some decent visual gags, but the show also doesn't look super good overall. It's very like there's not a lot of solid. There's not a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? There's not a lot of visual ideas behind this show. There's not a lot of. This seems, I don't want to say slapped together, but this is one of those ones where it's like, oh, they just made this to put it out, I guess. Because the visual style is so flat otherwise. I like the main character's character design, but mostly because it looks like it came out of a harem anime instead of a comedy anime, I guess. I don't know. Something about the main character design makes me think like harem anime. But, the characters themselves aren't super interesting or fun. I mean, they're okay. This show is like totally average. But I would probably fall asleep if I watched more than one episode in succession. So, I'm just gonna move on to something else, I guess.
Okay, Otaku Elf is off the list. We're going to do one more rando before we jump to our end caps, so let's see what that rando is.
It is 23. To me, the one who loved you / to every you I've loved before. This is like 2 movies, I guess, that are on Crunchyroll. So I'm gonna give the first one a shot, and if it's good, I'll give the second one a shot. Let's see how it do. You know, it's truly astonishing that you can go 8 full minutes into a hour and 40-minute movie. So, hold on, let me do some quick maths on that. That is, let's see, 8 divided by, actually 98 minutes. So, 8, almost 10% into the movie. You can go that far into a feature film without giving your main character a single personality trait. It's astounding. I'm blown away at the lack of imagination and creativity, despite the fact that these characters exist at the Imaginary Science Research Institute. This movie is boring as shit. The one character who expresses like any kind of like human emotion, well, the one character who actually feels like a believable person is like the grandpa who we see for like 30 seconds. The dad is just like a fucking space alien. None of the characters are interesting. Especially not the Manic Pixie Dream Girl that just showed up. It's just, you gotta take out the Manic and the Pixie and the Dream because it's just girl. Also, I knew I was not going to like this as soon as when they started mentioning parallel worlds less than 2 minutes into the movie. That's just not my thing. I don't like that stuff. But you know what? Sometimes it's done well. Steins Gate did it well. I don't think this show's going to do it well because the main character doesn't have a personality trait after 8 whole minutes. I'm pretty sure Hoin Kyoma had a personality within 10 seconds of being on screen. Also, this is supposed to be a movie, and it barely reaches TV anime quality. Like, the character designs are boring as shit. It's not super great animation. It's like competent. That's the level that we're at. Except for when we get into like this lab place and all the computers and equipment are made in fucking CG. The color grading sucks ass. Like, the color design is so... It's bright and garish in the wrong areas. I don't like anything about this movie so far. I don't want to waste another hour and a half to see if it gets better, because I'm pretty sure it doesn't. There is no reason for me to believe that this is going to get better, and I've heard literally no one talk about this movie, so we're just gonna move on. Alright, get these movies off my list. They're boring as shit. So that's the last random for this video, so we're gonna move to our end caps here. And up next we have KonoSuba, an explosion on this wonderful world. This is the Megumin spin-off. I am super hyped. Let's fucking go. Alright, I just finished up KonoSuba, an explosion on this wonderful world. Also known as the Megumin spin-off of KonoSuba. I was really hyped for this one, mostly because I'm a huge fan of Megumin. I have quite a bit of Megumin merch. We got this little like keychain thing. One of the more expensive figures I own is of Megumin. Really liked this one. And if you've seen another video of mine, you might know a certain other piece of Megumin merch that I have. But, so, suffice to say, I was very hyped for this series, and in the Megumin aspects, I would say that it definitely held up its end of the bargain there. She is just as fun, just as dumb, just as exciting and hype, and just as hilariously deranged as she's always been. And I think that's what made the first arc of this series so damn fun, is because it's basically, the first arc is set in the Crimson Demon Village, and it's just like, oh, this is just an entire town full of Chunies, just like Megumin, except for Union. This rules. I love the theatricality of it. I loved the over-the-top, baseless confidence. It's that first arc of just watching all of these fucking weirdos interact with each other was so much fun. And to have Union, like, be the straight man of it all, just be constantly being like, I'm so fucking embarrassed by all of you people, that was really fun. And I think that was another one of the surprisingly, like, strong aspects of this series that I wasn't expecting, was that friendship between Megumin and Union. Like, the main series, like, makes them kind of look like they're friends, sort of, but, like, Megumin just kind of treats her like shit most of the time. But in this one, like, you really get a sense for, like, oh, they're, like, really good friends, actually. Like, Megumin won't admit to it, because she's a little bit tsundere-y that way, a little bit. But I really liked that bond between these two characters. It was just a really good friendship, which I was definitely not expecting from a series as sarcastic as KonoSuba. Speaking of which, the comedy still is the same as always. I am really surprised that I can't really think of another anime since KonoSuba that has managed to, like, cop its style in any way. Like, there's this something about, like, the sincere sarcasm of it all, the mean spirit. It's like mean-spirited to, like, the perfect point. It goes just far enough for it to be mean without being overly mean most of the time. Yeah, it's just more KonoSuba for the most part. The animation is still really good, just like the original series. The directing is really fucking solid. The pacing of it all is just really strong. It feels like more KonoSuba for the most part, although there is one aspect that I think is different from KonoSuba, the main series, is that this feels like it's still got the comedy elements to it, but there's a little bit more hype behind the action stuff in this one. Like, some of it feels more like a traditional action fantasy than KonoSuba does. Although, to be fair, when was the movie? 2019? So it's been like 4 years since I've seen KonoSuba. So maybe I'm just not remembering it. But this feels a little bit less parody-ish in terms of, like, how battles go. Well, actually, no, because the first arc is just straight up parody and just absolute fucking hilarious nonsense. But some of the, like, later battles, it's like, it just kind of goes all in on the action, which isn't a bad thing. I love Megumin's explosions, but it's different. Not better or worse, just different. But there are some things that I wasn't quite a fan of. Really, there is a pretty notable drop-off after the first arc. Like, that first arc was just like lightning in a bottle. Fucking perfection. And then we get the Axis Cult arc, which was not good. I didn't hate it, but I also would not begrudge other people for hating it. Wow, that's some rough look. Like, the first arc in the Crimson Demon Village, it has like one sex pest who constantly gets his shit pushed in all the time. And then the Axis Cult arc starts, and then there's like suddenly tenfold more sex pests just shouting lolly at Megumin. I'm like, this is too much, man. This is past my threshold of tolerability. That arc was not great. And then the third arc was better in that you didn't have to deal with all the sex pest shit all the time. Like, but also worse in a different way that I was kind of expecting, but they went too far with it. So, like, the last arc, it takes place in the town of Axel. Like, this is where, like, the town where Megumin meets Cosma and Aqua. And, like, you expect, like, oh, this is going to probably be taking place at the same time as when Cosma and Aqua are first, like, meeting and, like, getting together and forming their party and stuff. And boy, do they not let you forget it. Like, there is, like, narrative fan service everywhere in this arc. You cannot go, like, 5 minutes without them constantly reminding you that Kazuma and Aqua are there, that Darkness is somewhere around, that Wiz is somewhere around, the legendary hero shows up at some point. And it gets to be too much. Like, 2 or 3 would have been fine, but there's, like, a dozen, like, bits of narrative fan service in these last, 3 episodes? 4? I think it's 3 episodes or 4 episodes, whatever. Yeah, I think it's 3. And it just gets to be too much. It's like beating you over the head with it. I get it. Yes, I see Kazuma and Aqua in the background for the 4th time. I get it. Like, if it had just been, like, brief whispers of them showing up, and then, like, that one shot of Darkness, like, one shot of Wiz, and then that final shot of them at the very end, I would have been fine. But they just go way too overboard with the narrative fan service. But yeah, I mean, the first arc was exactly what I was looking for from this series. That first arc alone is like a strong 8, maybe even a light 9. Just KonoSuba perfection. And then it just kind of then it does all the things that KonoSuba doesn't do very well. And it's like, maybe I'm just growing out of the sex pest thing. Like, I bet if I watched KonoSuba again from the beginning, I would not be as big a fan of Kazuma. But also, he also just constantly gets his shit pushed in all the time too. So, yeah. Maybe I'll do a KonoSuba rewatch at some point. But either way, I still very much enjoyed watching my lovely explosion waifu get her own spin-off. So, had fun with that. Looking forward to Season 3 of KonoSuba, which is coming in spring of 2024. So, yeah. If you like KonoSuba, I see no reason why you would not like this show. Unless you, like, don't like Megumin for some reason. In which case, what the fuck is wrong with you? Alright. KonoSuba spinoff is done. Where do I want to put this? I'm going to put it right under Gundam, Witch from Mercury, the last end cap. And you also get a light 8. Really wish those last 2 arcs were better, but that first one was just so dang good. And also, just for the record, here is that piece of Megamine merch that I mentioned earlier. I just didn't feel like bringing it into my room for that. Yeah, I love Megamine.